They told me I had to choose my education or my channel. And I'll be honest, this situation was looking a little dire for the future of my YouTube career. Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I got into this situation. Well, to answer that, we have to go back to September of 2023 when I first started college. Things were good. I had my channel. Granted, I only had a couple thousand subscribers and I was making fun facts shorts, which is a big difference to what you'd see in my shorts tab today. However, one day I decided to switch up my content, you know, be a little bit more edgy. And hey, being edgy got me to where I am today, and I've never really been in a controversy, so it's working so far. But there was one issue. My YouTube channel had already become pretty widely known by a lot of people in my college, and since now I was making videos like N-word tier list, obviously I had a little backlash. And look, I didn't really care about being the villain of my college, but yeah, I was definitely the villain of my college. There was this one specific group of people who now had one goal for the rest of our time in college: make my life as hard as possible. And you know what in their minds thought was an appropriate reaction to being offended at my videos? Reporting me to an anti-terrorist organization. In the UK, we have something called the Prevent Scheme, and it's basically where you report someone who you think is radicalizing themselves for terrorism. And apparently my channel was so evil, they felt I fit that bill. Needless to say, I was called into a meeting in my college because it was flagged on their system. Now here's where things get interesting. At first, my college said they liked my videos, they saw the sarcasm and that it was funny, but they did try to say that a serial killer could follow my advice in the ways to hide a body tier list, which, by the way, is a terrible idea, might I add. Do you really want to follow advice from an 18-year-old on how to commit high-level crimes? But anyway, the Jenkination endured, unabridged and ready to create more edgy tier lists, which is what I did. I kept uploading without issue. It was time for the ultimate cancellation test, the gender tier list, with a surprisingly high like to dislike ratio. Now, I can definitely see why this would piss a lot of people off, but as usual, my videos are only ever intended to make people laugh. I remember sitting in class speaking with a few people saying like, yeah, they're probably gonna call me into an office at some point about that.
Can we have Miles Jenkinator Chenko to the office, please?
She brought me into a room where she showed me my own video, thanks to the ad revenue, and she showed me a Google page full of different genders, explaining everything. I mean, look, if you want to identify like that, whatever, right? I don't really care. But for some reason, she thought I was trying to push some sort of radical political agenda. When I tried to explain that my videos are just jokes and I'm not trying to hurt anyone, she proceeded to say that I have no empathy for anyone because of my age.
Where's your empathy for me? I'm just trying to live my life here, guys. You keep sticking your dirty noses into my business, which has nothing to do with any of you.
Anyway, she was very narcissistic and obnoxious, and honestly, it was kind of fun to give this woman a piece of my mind. So, back to the situation. I was sent this code of conduct page and was told I violated the social media code of conduct I had signed. And when I read it, it was like the most generic, openly worded piece of writing possible. It said something like, no abusive behavior online is allowed. I mean, it was so catch-all. It was stupid. It also says on there I'm not allowed to share any piece of information about disciplinaries online. Good thing I'm not a student there anymore, huh? Anyway, since apparently my meeting wasn't how the college expected it to go, and personally I'd felt insulted and belittled, I still had to be brought into a meeting with the headmaster. Ooh, scary. It was around this time that a lot of people around the college had voiced support for me. I'd had a couple of people walk up to me saying they think the whole situation's completely ridiculous and that they've got my back, which thankfully kept me sane during this whole thing. The time came to speak to the headmaster, and the first thing I was told is that I'd be stripped of my student president role. Oh yeah, I'd been elected as the student president during this whole thing, and by a pretty large margin too, so maybe I wasn't the villain of the college after all. But it didn't matter. They just made sure to take that away from me. But it didn't really matter anyway, not to me, like, it's just a ceremonial role. And then I was told the following:
if you make any more jokes like that, you're gone.
So now I had a choice. My entire brand on YouTube is making these sorts of jokes, yet if I kept doing this, I'd have no education. So I stopped. I uploaded a couple more videos, made it to 100k subs, and just sort of fizzled out of existence. It was over. And then I remembered something. Why did I even start YouTube in the first place? And my journey never even began in September 2023. It began in 2015 when I was like 8 years old, and I'd finally succeeded in my goal of becoming a YouTuber. So, despite the limitations, I had to keep going, and I'm glad I did. Sure, I had to skirt around with the jokes for a whole year, making sure my videos were tamed down a bit, but the Jenkination was there to lift me up in my darkest hours, so thank you, my little Jenkers. Before you leave the video, let me give you a piece of advice. If you want to speak your mind, do it, and nothing should ever stop you.